At this point, with the main screen, we just have place for one image or one video. Depending on what input we get, we're talking about possibly moving the images down to the inspection and replacement so that you could have a separate image for each inspection or replacement. That's something that we're still in the discussion stages on and we're waiting at this point for some feedback.
That way you keep a history of that intersection.
Exactly. You could see every time something was done there, you'd have a separate photo or video to go with that. Correct. Other questions?
When you do a quick fill, in other words, if I was doing like 5 signs and they were on the right side of the road, can I just get Control D and fill that?
The side of the road actually can be or is set to default to right. We are going to have the command isn't created yet, but they're going to be creating a way where you can, let's say you're working off of several signs at the same location, you'll be able to copy into your location field whatever you typed in there last so that you won't have to retype it each time. So yes, we are working on some of those things. As I said, not only is this a new product, but this is being written in a brand new language. We're using the language in our internal tools, but this is actually the first system that we're deploying with this. Good questions. Other questions? Yes, sir.
The price you have down on your
Yes.
here, is that if you have Kelpro, or is that if you do not have Kelpro?
That is if you do not. There is a discount available for current Kelpro customers off of that price.
Is that price per district or per county?
That is per district. Yes.
Okay, on my road, we make 2 signs. I'm sorry, 2 pictures.
Okay.
One side on one on the other. But using what you use just to be able to pull it over, even though I couldn't attach it to that, can we go ahead and take a picture? And I put that in my book with mine because I send one in to show that we actually changed the tonnage. But I also put one in the book that I have of all my bridges. So could I not go ahead and make a picture off of 2 for that one? It wouldn't actually be on for that one up there.
Right. Well, and I wouldn't be surprised, depending on what the input is that we get, we may have a way of attaching multiple pictures. I mean, I could easily foresee a need for multiple pictures attached. It's just at this point right now we've got it set as a single picture. So I anticipate some of that will be tailored depending on what input we get.
Well, I guess I didn't make it. When you
Okay.
just pulled it off and put the picture, can you just print that picture just like that without attaching it to anything? Is it feasible to be able to print it off?
Sure. Yeah, you can, if we go back to, if I pull up this image here, if you have a printer attached to your computer, yeah, you can go in and you can print this out through your browser. Sure. Yes. Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
One of our major problems is our stop signs disappear and our 911 signs disappear and our weight limit signs disappear and it's spring break, so there's going to be a lot of them disappearing this week. Is there a way when people call and say the stop sign's gone on 810 Road and 3550? You can enter that in and then maybe at the end of the day do a printout to give someone that says, here's what's gone. Because right now we're doing it all by hand. I mean, make the list by hand or...
Right. I would have to think about that. At this point, that isn't something that we had really approached at this point, but it's certainly something. I mean, off the top of my head, I could think of a...
Jay, do you put them in by dates?
Yes, that you're putting in a inspection date or a replacement date, and then based on how many months down the road you've set your interval, it'll set the next date. Now, one possibility that I could think of is a way of overriding the replacement date to put it in, say, as tomorrow's date, and then you could run a report for that date range, which would show those. That's not something that's currently available, but I could see the potential there.
There's a need for that.
Mm-hmm.
That every time when someone calls, write a note on it, and then you've got
Sure.
6 notes.
Yeah. Right now, the replacement date is automatically populated based on the interval, but I could see the potential of creating a way to manually override that so that you can set it for a sooner date to show up on your next report that you print out of things to be replaced.
Under type of sign, you put missing, and then you can sort by missing.
You could. Yeah, you could. The only thing about that, though, is now your record, instead of showing that this was a stop sign, now shows that it's a missing sign, and so now you've got to go back and... So, I mean, I don't know.
Or
There's some ways I'm sure that could be done.
you could put it in the sign activities, the inspection, show an inspection and then failed or missing in the
Right.
inspection. And so it still says the stop sign are supposed to be, but it says that it's missing now. A
Right.
report for everything that's missing.
Sure. Yeah, we could have on your inspection criteria, your condition could be reported missing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's some possibilities there.
So Jay, I'm getting from this that it doesn't have an input column. That the day I put some in, tomorrow I put some in. I can't go back and figure out which ones I put in unless I know what they are.
You mean as far as, well, you're...
If I'm putting in a new sign today,
Mm-hmm.
and I put in 6 new signs and then get called off to something else by my commissioner, and then I come back and put in 6 more signs the next day, and I'm going through a file that I need to know what signs I put in the last 3 days. Is there not a way to say inputs?
If your pile is randomly sorted, then it would be difficult to know that. If your pile is in any sort of order, you can sort based off of whatever order that would be. Now, if that is something, we probably could create a record creation date if that was something that there was enough need for.
Well, I know that I would need it because we're still doing it.
Right.
Sometimes my guys are driving down the road and they say, "Hey, Jerry, back in this tree is another slow down sign or something."
Sure.
I might end up with 3 of those and it's all still the same sign.
Right. Well, and that's something that we probably, with our beta customers, will probably be soliciting some input as far as how do we need to track that initial entry order, or do we have to create another way of determining which sign was entered last? I understand what you're saying.
You do it by last replacement, then, sort of that way. If you've entered it in and put the date you last replaced it, then you can sort and see which ones you just did.
Yeah, or last inspection date. I mean, the replacement date may be, depends on how far back you're going with your entry. So, well, I will be available afterwards if any of you have questions or other things that you want to discuss with me. I appreciate your time. I'm going to get out of the way here, and is Matthew, are you up next?